Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton has flagged a boost to Australia's counter-espionage efforts and a greater domestic focus for the Defence Department's cyberspy agency as he moves to put his stamp on the new super portfolio. Speaking after he was sworn in as the minister in charge of a wide range of agencies, Mr. Dutton said that terrorism would remain the top focus, but battling espionage had been well and truly underdone in the era of Al-Qaeda and the so-called Islamic State. And he said the Australian Signals Directorate, which primarily exists to support defence by gathering foreign electronic intelligence, would be used more in Australian investigations into terrorism, drug smuggling, child exploitation and other cross-border crimes. I think people will quickly understand what Home Affairs is about and the virtue of it when you see the element of the Australian Signals Directorate that has a cyber capacity that is now working more closely with the ADA gang members of the Australian Federal Police that are targeting an offshore venture, he said. The ASD would still primarily work for defence, but there will be an element of ASD which will be very important, crucial, in joining as part of investigations, counter-terrorism effort and the rest of it. So a greater domestic focus than they've had in the past, Mr. Dutton said. He said that agency was already used on Operation Sovereign Borders to counter people smuggling. Under the Intelligence Services Act, the ASD needs a ministerial authorisation to produce intelligence on an Australian citizen or which is likely to have a direct effect on an Australian citizen. Mr. Dutton said its stronger domestic role would be legally sound. The new portfolio, which represents a strong promotion for Mr. Dutton in becoming Australia's political chief for national security, will put Security Agency ASIO, the AFP, the Australian Border Force, the Australian Criminal Intelligence Commission and Financial Intelligence Agency (AUSTRAC) into one portfolio. It will also bring in the former Immigration Department. The aim is for better strategic cooperation and coordination. You can wait for a Royal Commission with recommendations after a terrorist incident has happened, which inevitably will tell you that the agencies shall have shared that piece of information or that snippet of intelligence, and possibly that the event would have been thwarted had there been closer cooperation. Or you can preempt that and you can iron out the difficulties, have the agencies working as efficiently as possible, Mr. Dutton said. He said that terrorism was the #1 priority and agencies had understandably concentrated their resources in that direction, but added that, as a consequence, I think we're well and truly underdone in terms of our counter-espionage effort. So I think we need to continue to push harder on the counter-espionage side and, certainly in terms of organised crime, again given the level of importance, he said. I think that means we need to have a greater investment over time, and I think there's certainly a desire to put the argument and to fight for that extra funding and that extra resource. Mr. Dutton's new department will be headed by the senior bureaucrat Michael Petzulo, who has developed a reputation for toughness as a defence official and in his current role as head of the Immigration Department.